Chapter 27. Nirasawa's capacity for retaliatory action was well mapped and undamaged, a self-contained 3L Cerebyte module that had been integrated into his reasoning after his assignment to Mr. Briggs. The humans that he recognized, Catherine Lara and Martin Jess, had been telling the truth, as had the woman Lara called Machiko. No pupil dilation, no change in respiration. Mr. Briggs would not survive. Protecting Mr. Briggs was no longer his primary function, which meant that he had to report back to his Weyland-Yutani A1 assignment officer as soon as he could find a transmitter. And now he had the option to physically incapacitate the perpetrators of Mr. Briggs' inevitable death. The woman, Machiko, started for the group of 5 alien organics, and Nirasawa followed, the stimuli from the tapped module flooding his driver. "Nirasawa, the small one and I will engage," Machiko said as she walked, and flexed her right arm. A pair of sharpened knives projected from the back of her wrist with a click, snapping into place. "The others may wish to involve themselves in our fight. If you choose to keep them from interfering, you will cause them psychological damage." Nirasawa didn't respond, but decided that inflicting more than just physical injury was appealing. His module had been designed so that associates of a damaged or dead consumer could feel that some justice had been served. It did not recommend any one method of reciprocity over any other, but did suggest that a combination of methods was highly effective. The members of the alien group were agitated, calling out in a language Nirasawa did not know, making threatening gestures as he and Machiko neared. From his previous interactions on the Bunda Station platform, Nirasawa knew that they were physically much stronger than humans, but didn't think it was necessary to tell the woman. He deduced it likely that she already knew. Machiko moved ahead of him, stopping 2 meters from the smallest of the screaming alien beings and striking a fighting pose. The short alien screamed again, leaping forward. When the woman dodged to avoid his attack, one of the watching creatures swiped at her with the same kind of apparatus that she wore, 2 pointed blades at the back of his clawed fist. Nirasawa moved. As Machiko darted away from the second assailant, he reached forward and grabbed its shoulder, jerking it off balance. A third alien lunged for Nirasawa with a bladed staff, damaging the silicone colioid that served as his tricep. Nirasawa still had a grip on the second attacker's shoulder. He broke it, then turned his attention to the blade carrier, aware that all 4 beings had now surrounded him. The woman would have her engagement with the small one. Nirasawa was satisfied that the module was in full working order. Noguchi saw that another novice was preparing to attack, even as Shorty leapt for her. It was a feint, a classic. The second hunter ready to skewer her as soon as she blocked Shorty's wild lunge, designed only to intimidate her into dodging. Pathetic. She went with it, feinting her own dodge right, ducking well beneath the untrained swipe of Shorty's second, and shifting her weight back to the left. She came up with her wrist blades, the tips of them catching the plate armor of Shorty's groin. Shorty wheeled backwards, tusks going wide, although the blades didn't pierce flesh. Noguchi followed through, not willing to overbalance, pulling herself back up into a defensive crouch. The screams of the others told her that Nirasawa was busy, but she didn't look away from Shorty, fully aware that one of them wouldn't be walking away from this one. Shorty knew it too. She could see it in the shine of his hateful gaze, in the way it flickered towards his backup. "They're busy, you blustering crab. You're all mine." "Come and get it," she sneered, grinning tightly. "Pok de, Asigan." She'd either called him a fucking servant or a servant fucker. She wasn't sure. All that matters was that it had desired effect, goading him to reckless action. Screaming with raw fury, Shorty jumped, swiping his blades down in an arc, all of his powerful bulk behind the violent move. And Noguchi dropped, one hand behind her, supporting her weight as she delivered a solid kick to his shin. Shorty rocked with the blow, using it, continuing his downward swipe as he fell, and Noguchi rolled to the side, Shorty's blades missing her head by centimeters. With his weight behind them, the shining knives were buried deep in the ground, Shorty on his side, facing her as he struggled to pull them free. Now. Noguchi lashed out with her right hand, so concentrated on the killing strike, already seeing the metal dripping with green from his slashed throat, that she didn't see his knee coming up until it made contact, slamming into the front of her left thigh hard enough to send shock pulses of agony through her body. Noguchi was shoved back, too far for her knives to reach his spotted throat. She stumbled to her feet, favouring her injury as Shorty managed to free his wrist and get up. She stood in defence, ready for his next lunge, but he mirrored her action. Warily, they watched each other, gazes locked, the screams of pain and fury from the other hunters distant and unimportant. Kill them all, android. Let this stay between us. The eyes would give it away. She'd seen him look before he leapt, but it seemed that Shorty had finally learned not to go running into a fight with his betters. Neither moved, both waiting for the opening that would end it, once and for all. Lara and Jess stayed close to Max, Ellis seeming to understand that they wanted to head west, keeping to a reasonably straight line. They were able to move faster than before, Max tearing a path through the abundant growth, the smell of sap and cut plants surrounding them as the sound of Noguchi's battle fell behind. Briggs's body was folded over the elbow joint of Max's right arm, Ellis keeping the arm stable as he moved so that the impregnated Briggs wouldn't fall off. The exec's arms and legs were slapped at by weeds and broken limb trees, which was fine by Jess. Briggs's comfort wasn't high on the list of needs. Besides, he was unconscious. They probably wouldn't be able to use him at all, but Jess thought that having a still-breathing suit in tow might turn out to be extremely handy. He won't give birth for another couple of hours, at least. Plenty of time in case... Jess, listen, Lara said, and stopped, tilting her head, her face as pale as milk. Ellis took one more crashing step and did the same, turning statue. Jess listened. He heard jungle sounds, night sounds, the ree of some cicada relative, a wind in the treetops high above, the scuttling rasps underfoot of animals too small to move the leaves. They held in place for a full minute, and Jess didn't hear anything unexpected. I heard something moving, Lara said, chewing at her lower lip. I'm sure. If Lara was sure, then there was something to it. Jess moved closer to Ellis, searching the shadow-flecked trees for darker things. Ellis, do you see anything? Ellis didn't respond. Jess shot a glance at Lara, saw the same worry on her face. The kid hadn't spoken since alerting them to Nirasawa's approach. He seemed to comprehend what they wanted, but that he wouldn't talk, even to answer them, was unnerving. What's going on in there, Ellis? Max looked dead. Each time it stopped walking, Jess had to wonder if it would start again, the giant body turning into an object that seems incapable of life. I guess... Lara started, and then Ellis was moving. It happened fast, Max's left arm swivelling back and up, directed into the dark and broken trail behind them. There was a puh of sound, of displaced air. Grenade. And a sharp pop and a dazzling light. The electric glow of white phosphorus hissed up from the burning filler some 15 metres back, a tremendous billow of smoke pluming into the air from the M60. And before Jess could feel more than a second's confusion, he saw the silhouettes in front of the rising sheet of white, and heard the screech of one of those that was dancing through the flame. He saw two others, standing sharply outlined by the sizzling light. Hunters. There was the ripping sound of a burner, barely audible over the dying screams of the hunter on fire, and the blast hit Max in the back, and then Jess and Lara were both firing, the burner jumping in Jess's hands, the crack of Lara's semi blending into the harsh rattle from Max's pulse rifle. Brup, boom! The flash from Jess's burner slammed into the chest of one of them, throwing it backwards into the rising incendiary flame. There was a clattering howl, terrible, and Jess brought the weapon around to the second, and its body was jumping, convulsing with the hammer of bullets that pounded it all the way down, Lara and Max both shooting, its muscular form crashing to the ground. Max ceased firing. Jess and Lara both stopped, scanning for further movement. And all was quiet. only the hiss of the white turning orange flames as they ate slowly through the surrounding brush. If there were any more hunters in the area, they decided not to join the fight. It was over, at least for the moment. Max whispered, and Jess felt his heart pounding in delayed reaction, felt renewed fear for the kid as he and Lara both turned to inspect the damage. The black, smoking splotch on Max's back was too hot to touch. Lara ripped a strip of cloth from the bottom of her shirt and balled it up, wiping it across the wide and ragged mark. The hit didn't seem to have penetrated the armour, but it had eaten through the protective acid and heat-resistant coating. He could be boiling alive in there. "Ellis! Brian! Are you hurt? Can you talk?" Lara asked, her voice right on the edge of panic. Nothing, except a soft, unconscious groan from Briggs, still draped over Max's flamethrower arm. Amazingly, he hadn't been injured. "Kid, please," Jess said, aching inside as well as out. "Say you're all right. Say anything." "Anything," Max breathed, and Lara laughed, the sharp sound close to a sob. Jess swallowed, hard, and faced front again, wanting this endless, painful night to be over with. "Go. Let's go," he said, taking a step forward, then two. And then Max raised one massive metal leg and put it back down, following, and Lara joined them. Almost over. Almost, Jess thought, and was still working to believe that a half-click later when they heard the trumpeting calls of at least a dozen approaching drones.